Hi, this is Larry London. Welcome to Border Crossings. Today we are joined by Danny O'Reilly, who is the lead singer and songwriter for the Coronas, who've been together now, I believe it is close to 14 years now, Danny.
That's right. Yeah, making me feel old. But we started the band when we were very young. Very
young. And growing up, obviously, we can tell from the accent in Ireland. You are now in Dublin. Is that where you are?
That's right. Yeah, we're in Dublin now. We're just about to go on our world tour. Really, we're starting in Europe next week, and then we fly to the States. We're so excited to head back there in November. And then Australia, and then we come back here, and we've got some shows here in Ireland before Christmas. So it's a busy time ahead. We just released an album a couple of weeks ago as well, so it's been a busy few months, but it's good. We're making up for lost time. You know, we had a couple of years to hang around and reflect on having the most unfortunate band name in the world, but we got over that, and we're back, and all is really good.
Well, Time Stopped is the name of the new album, and so the album was inspired by the COVID shutdown?
Yeah, I mean, initially I was reluctant to specifically try and write about the lockdown and pandemic and the whole thing, but then it was very hard to ignore it as well. Everything else seemed a bit futile when you're trying to write songs when you're in lockdown and you don't know what that uncertainty of, we didn't know when things were going to open up and things were going to get back to normal. So that ended up sneaking its way into the songs, even though I wasn't trying to write about it directly. So for a lot of the songs, it would still be about the stuff we've already written about, us as a band, me trying to be a better person, a better brother, a better bandmate, a better singer, a better writer. So I often write about self-improvement and also just about friendships and relationships and everything that's going on, but with the backdrop of the pandemic happening. So almost every song, you know, has a little sort of nod to the pandemic as well, as opposed to being right front and center in each song, if you understand.
Mm-hmm. And in Dublin, what's the virus been like there? Has it been the same in Ireland as it has been around the rest of the world? Because some places have had it worse than other places.
Well, we had a really stringent lockdown. We had one of the most stringent lockdowns in the whole world, as far as I've been told. I think there was only one. I think only New Zealand had a stricter lockdown than us. You know, we were closed, you know, and everything closed for a long time. It wasn't just a couple of little windows, and really only live concerts and music only came back in February as well. So we were a little bit behind, and we were looking online to see everything in the rest of the UK was all fine, and seeing shows and stuff happening in the States, and it was frustrating because you were like, okay, well, come on, when are we going to, you know, get back to normal here? And but yeah, eventually we got there, and you know, I think the government did some things right. I think maybe they were a little bit too strict, but I mean, I think it did help to maybe keep the virus at bay for a little bit longer. And you know, so it is back to normal now. It's great. We've had festivals in the summer, and it's funny how quickly people get back to it and forget what it was like before. And so that's great. And as I say, now we can get back on the road and tour, and we're so excited to get back at it and put on a live show.
Locked in a house for the extended period of time that we all were, you know, you do a lot of introspective reflecting, a lot of, you know, soul searching, and you get to know yourself, your family, those around you, because you're kind of isolated. But one of the things that's benefit from this is that you can reach a different audience when you're doing your, you know, virtual concerts and things. You're broadcasting to a much wider audience than you would if you were just in one venue. So from that perspective, it was at least a good opportunity.
100%. And even, you know, I said a joke about the coronavirus and us, our band name Corona, is like, I honestly think that actually, in a weird way, helped us. I mean, it put us in front of a lot of other people, and we had interest from all sorts of global news channels. We had CNN and NBC and everything trying to get interviews with us, just because we had that unfortunate band name and a different angle on the story of how it's affected the music industry. And to be honest with you, initially we were sort of saying no to that stuff, but when we released an album in the middle of lockdown as well, I was just like, let's embrace it. Like, let's just talk about our unfortunate band name for 20 seconds, and then we promote our music. So you're right, we got to do a lot more, and even we could see people from all over the world sort of starting to engage with us, and still see our numbers start growing and stuff. So yeah, we got to focus on all that stuff as well, and then work on the next album as well. So this is now what Time Stopped has just been released. So it was nice to have all that lined up and make a plan for when things came back, and that's what this tour is too, you know.
We're talking with Danny O'Reilly from the Coronas. The new album, Time Stopped, is the band's seventh. You're going to do a song for us right now. You guys recorded something for us?
Yeah, we've recorded a couple of songs in studio for you. And the first one we're going to do for you is a song called Write Our Own Soundtrack.
All right, Write Our Own Soundtrack. The Coronas here on Border Crossings.
Oh my God, don't laugh. I think I'm freaking out again. It's okay, I'm sound again. But if I prepared nothing to sing, I'll sing one that I always do. And I know you will sing the use. 'Cause we couldn't have slept for more than an hour. Couldn't have slept for more than an hour. And we didn't expect to after an hour. Couldn't have slept for more than an hour. Maybe we were rushing, messing it up as we watch the TV with the sound turned off. Doesn't make a difference, we don't care enough about that. We can write our own soundtrack, lock ourselves away, nothing criticize. We don't need to listen, they don't realize. Only thing that matters is I always got your back. We can write our own soundtrack. Oh my God, I'm stuck right between I used to be. But you carry on like a tune or a song that lingers in an empty room. It's always there to comfort you. 'Cause we couldn't sleep for more than an hour. Couldn't sleep for more than an hour. We didn't expect to really low.
Border Crossings, and that is the Coronas, Write Our Own Soundtrack. The new album is Time Stopped. Now, how did you guys come up with the name the Coronas? Was it inspired by the beer, or what's the Coronas?
Yeah, well, actually, we're named after a typewriter, the Corona Smith Deluxe, an old typewriter, and we were thinking about band names at the time. We were only kids when we started the band. I told you, you say we're 7 albums in, but I mean, the first record we released, we were literally just kids, and we were just put a bunch of demos together and just released it and called it an album. And it sort of took us a few years to really form our sound, I suppose. And then we signed to Island Records, and things sort of happened for us then, and on about album 3, you know. But I wouldn't change anything. I like our journey. But yeah, the band name just came from the typewriter, and it was in a movie which is a favorite of ours, Cameron Crowe directed, called Almost Famous, which has some amazing music in it. And when we started the band, we were watching that movie. We loved that movie, and I think the typewriter was in that, and we were like, that's sort of a cool. Initially, we were just Corona, and then it became the Coronas, and that was it. So there's no connection with the beer or the virus. And funnily, when the pandemic first hit, we tweeted Corona Extra, the beer, we got on our Twitter, and we tweeted them, and we said, so guys, what's your plan? Are you guys going to rebrand or what? And we didn't hear anything back, unfortunately. But yeah, you gotta laugh at your name. But I think almost every interview I've ever done, someone has mentioned, oh, where did you get the name, or what's the story? Is it connected to the beer? And I think from now on, I'll always have to mention, oh, that must have been strange when you had the virus, you know. And so that's just what happens. It's a name. That's what it is.
Do you guys have any plan to score a movie? Would you like to see some music of the Coronas in a film?
I'd love that, you know. And funnily enough, the opening track on Time Stopped, our album, was an instrumental that I wrote one day, and I was struggling to write lyrics and melody. And I said, you know what? And I was still sort of feeling creative, but I just didn't know what to write, and I couldn't think of any melodies. So the whole intro to the album I wrote as a piece of music, and in my head I was thinking for a film. My favorite movie is Good Will Hunting, and I just sort of imagined a scene in that, and just these little piano chords and all this ambient noise and stuff. So the first song on the album, we call it Intro, but it's only a 2-minute piece of music, and that was me trying to score for a movie, really. But yeah, I'd love to, maybe one day, if someone asks us, do you know any directors that might need a
Well, I think Spielberg is looking right now. So.
There you go. Well, might as well aim high. If we're going to start anywhere, start at the top. Yeah.
So you mentioned the songwriting process for you. What comes first, the melody or the lyrics when you're writing music, or is it just change song to song?
Yeah, but it's different for every song. Oftentimes I'll have a little piece of music, like just a few chords or whatever, and I'll bring it to the rest of the band, or I'll bring it to friends of mine who are writers or producers, and we'll work on an idea from scratch. Or I might have a bit more, like there's a song on the album called Best Worrier that I sort of had almost finished before I brought it to the rest of the band. So it can change song to song. Usually for me, it's music first. I started in lockdown working a bit more on the laptop and writing sort of on programs like GarageBand and Logic and stuff like that. So I've started doing a little bit more production, but it's funny. But yeah, that's the way it happens. It's different song by song, but yeah, I enjoy approaching it different ways. Like, and as we've gotten older, as we've developed, I've started co-writing with different people and sort of using my talented friends to bounce ideas off and getting people involved. And the Coronas is, even though we're a 3-piece now, we're actually much bigger than that. We have a good team around us of live musicians, of producer friends, and people that we bounce ideas off. And I think that works for us, you know.
And so, you know, when you first started, when the band got together was, like I say, over a dozen years ago, you didn't have the advanced technology that we have now. So now you can actually put your pieces of your songs and your albums together from outside of a studio. You don't all have to be in one place anymore. Yeah. Do you like the approach now compared to when you first started, or?
I do. I love it. You know, even there's a song on the new album called Take Me With You If You're Leaving, and a lot of the original sounds that I just sort of came up with on my laptop, we ended up using on the album. Now the quality is good enough that you can record yourself at home, and you can find good sounds and make things work. And whereas in the early days, I always would have just written on an acoustic guitar like this one behind me, and just sort of almost written a full song. And before I brought it to the rest of the band, and we'd work on our parts and figure it out that way in a room together. But as you say, now there's different ways you can go with it. You can approach songwriting in so many different ways. And also the industry has changed a lot since we started as well. I mean, our first record, we sold CDs. Like, CDs was our big thing, and then everything moved to downloads, and now it's like streaming and TikTok, and it's all different now, you know. So it's we've seen the industry evolve every few years, and we're just happy, I suppose, to be still involved and still successful enough that we can call it our job and tour and play shows here. Thankfully in Ireland, you know, touch wood, we do very well, and we've gotten to travel and see the world too. So it's all good, you know.
And because of the new formats and mediums of delivering music, Now you got songs, sales, and streams in the millions, the hundreds of millions, the billions, which is just unbelievable. The numbers are astronomical these days.
It's crazy, and how quickly it can get to people as well. So we'll put this interview up today or whenever it goes up, and people can see it today, and all over the world, like, and that's great. That's the great thing about technology. And even us, when we tour in the States now, I might have someone who would come up to me after the show and just go, "Oh, I just heard one of your songs on a playlist or whatever. I didn't realize that you have 7 albums. I didn't realize you were Irish. I didn't realize anything about you guys, And I love that about the way the industry is now,
I was going to ask you, see, you mentioned a lot of people don't realize you're Irish. Listen to you speak. There's little doubt that you're Irish, but when you sing, you can't hear the Irish accent. Why does that happen? Why does the accent go away?
I imagine it's because I grew up listening to American music, and I love Fleetwood Mac. And I probably got a lot influenced maybe by that stuff, the way I sing. The Killers, Kings of Leon, all these bands were big influences on us. So I can only imagine that. I think sometimes now and again you can hear my Irish accent in little bits in the music, but I don't know. I don't overthink the way I sing. I just do it, and it's worked for me this far. So I try not to spend too much time analyzing it.
Danny O'Reilly is with us from the Coronas, and we would like to ask for another song if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. Well, why don't we play next Strive? This is another single off ours. It got a lot of radio play back here in Ireland, which is great, and I think Jess likes it too. She's happy with Strive, yeah.
All right. The Coronas Stride for Jess and for our worldwide viewers here listening to and watching Border Crossings on VOA TV.
Said we never have to leave it like that, staring at the ceiling. Had another thing before you react. It's coming, I can feel it. You took issue, you said you feel attacked. Well, I'm not the only one to call you all night. I tried to push you to see if you'd bite. Well, I just wanna shake you, make you realize. Yeah, I just wanna shake you, make you realize. I always want you to strive. It's just a mess of time. When you're feeling low like that, yes, I will help you strong. Just a mess of time.
the Coronas, and it's Stride. It's one of a number of songs on the new album. The new album is Time Stopped.
That's right, yeah.
And time did stop, but not for the Coronas. The Coronas kept on forging ahead and writing music. Now, the previous album number 6, was kind of love songs. It was about relationships you were in at the time. And so now this is a different theme. So do you find that you're writing songs based on the mood and what's going on around you at the time? Is that where you get your inspiration for music?
Yeah, 100%. I've always been a very honest writer. You know, I write from, you know, with my heart in my sleeve. And I found the more honest I am with my lyrics, the more people actually relate to them. So the more specific even I am about what's going on in my life, they're the lyrics that seem to connect to a wider range of people than the ones where I'm trying to be clever or trying to think about what other people might be thinking. So I found the more inside myself I go, the more it connects. And that sort of hasn't changed throughout the years. I do think in more recent years, I've been a little bit more, with lyrics especially, I've been a little bit maybe more thoughtful on maybe going back and adjusting things. In the early days, I used to write a song in a day, and even if the next day I was like, I'm not sure about that lyric, I would be like, well, that's the way I felt yesterday. That's it. It's done. Next song, you know, and I wouldn't spend too much time going back. Whereas now I would be working a little bit, and even just small little lines here and there. I'll be constantly, I might put in a line that I know is going to be improved upon, you know. So I'm continuing to just adjust. And even after the record came out, like the album came out, Time Stopped, at the start of the month, and now I'm playing the songs live, and I'm even slightly changing some lyrics now. I'm talking small things like a but instead of an and, or like just slightly you instead of me. And I'm like, that's really what I was trying to say. It sounds better if I said it that way, you know? So I'm constantly just slightly changing things, which I think helps and has helped our lyrics as we got on. But you're right, True Love Waits was definitely that excitement of a start of a relationship and just coming out of yourself and you know, picking yourself up out of a maybe a not so great relationship, and then the positivity of a new relationship. Whereas Time Stopped is a bit more like gratitude. I think it's sort of like you're happy, you're grateful for a lot of things. When the world is turned upside down, you're like, at least I have this person to spend it with. At least I have my bandmates. At least we have a good, you know, job and everything. Everyone is safe, and you're trying to take the good out of a bad situation. And I think that's one of the general themes. That and sort of defiance as well. Maybe a bit more defiant as opposed to, oh, thank God. You know, it's that's more, I think, the themes of Time Stopped, you know.
I hope you write a song called Jess at some point.
I've been thinking about that myself, honest to God, because I never say girls' names in songs. It's just never felt right when I tried it, you know, and it's always be you or her or whatever if I'm writing about someone. But I have thought about that. If I do put a girl's name in a song, I think it'll probably be Jess, and then people will be like, it's the dog.
Where's the most unusual or interesting place you ever got inspiration for a song?
I mean, we had a crazy bus driver on one of our first American tours. We had a crazy bus driver who was a scary individual, and halfway through the tour, our trailer broke down. It was a really old van, and we were doing it on a shoestring, like, and the trailer that had all the equipment broke down, and we went into a U-Haul place to try and rent another one, and the lady behind the counter wouldn't rent him a trailer. And our manager went in and was like, why won't you give him a trailer? There's loads there. Like, and we can't give him one because he's an ex-convict. And we were like, okay. So for the rest of the tour, we were all like, what did he do? You know, but we actually wrote a song about it. And then that became the title of our second album. So our second record is called Tony Was an Ex-Con. And it's about our crazy bus driver who was just driving down the road, not telling us where we were going. Like, he just wouldn't talk to us. It was like something out of a horror movie. Like, you know, eventually our manager nearly had to wrestle him from behind the wheel. He just pulled over on the highway about 4 hours outside New York, and we just got out with all our equipment on the side of the street. And thankfully there was another band playing in New York that weekend, another Irish band that we knew, and we rang them and they came down and picked us up. But it was a crazy time. Like, it was so funny looking back on it, but I mean, at the time we were like, oh my God, this is how it ends. Like, this is like, you know.
Did you ever find out what the crime was that he committed?
No, we never did, which was interesting. And it could have been, you know, something really small, Or
right.
it could have been something really big. And we were all trying to figure it out, you know, it was crazy. But he was a nice guy when we actually talked to him at the start of the tour, but it just got a bit crazy, like, you know. So, yeah, so that's one of the strange ones. We've written some songs, stories like that about characters we've met along the way, especially in the early days, I think more. I think these days I'm probably being influenced by different bands, and oftentimes I feel like the songs don't need to have a real clear narrative, you know. It doesn't need to have a beginning, middle, and end. It can be little snapshots, like, you know, or like the way, you know, Bowie used to write, you know, and I remember hearing a story that he used to cut up newspaper clippings and just pick out words and put them, jumble them up, and then just pick out and start writing lines from that. And I'm not saying that's what we do. It is more personal, as I say, but I tend not to get too caught up in trying to have a beginning, a middle, and end. What's this song about? And, you know, where does it go? But Tony was an ex-con that it was one that had that sort of narrative throughout, like, and it was like, the song starts and it's like, we met this bus driver, and then by the end it's like, this is crazy, you know. So
Danny O'Reilly is with us, sharing some stories from the Coronas and their 7th album, Time Stop, which is out now. And if you wouldn't mind doing another song, we'd love to hear some more music.
Sure, absolutely, yeah. This is our most recent single. It's a song called If You Let Me. It's about being there for a friend when they're going through a tough time, and you want to give them support and your help, but you also got to wait until you're asked. So you're sort of biting your lip because you want them to ask for help, so you can give them advice. But it's about that sort of dynamic. It's called If You Let Me.
The Coronas.
I don't wanna speak out of turn, don't wanna make it worse. I just wanna see you happier. We can call the world tragic, but all that really matters is here and now. You sneak out when the music starts. You gave me a look, it tore me apart. Now we can leave if you need to. I'll help you solve this, talk around it if you let me. I'll help you see this, learn to love if you let me. Show you who you were. Talk around it if you let me. Been this before, if you let me. I don't need to give you my take, I know it's not my place. I just wanna see you happier. But in a country of romantics, we still find time to panic. What's that about? Every end can be a star. When we were young, we said you'd go far. Now it don't seem to ring true. I'll help you solve this, talk around it if you let me. I'll help you see this, learn to love if you let me. Show you who you were. Been this before, if you let me. I can help you forget, get beyond if you let me. I can help you sidestep, work around if you let me. Even though it hurts, I'll always put you first if you let me.
Border Crossings, the Coronas, If You Let Me. Danny O'Reilly, who is the lead singer, and the founder of the group. Now, it started off as a foursome, and now you're down to a threesome. And so that was a big change for you guys, losing one of the members.
Absolutely, one of the original members as well, and Dave, our guitar player, just wasn't enjoying it as much, and it's a tough life, you know. I mean, I love every aspect of what we do. I enjoy all the touring, the travel, the work, and talking. I love it all, but it's not for everyone, and I've learned that over the years. And Dave just wasn't enjoying it as much. And he, in fairness to him, he sort of sat us down just before True Love Waits, our last record, came out. He sat us down and he was like, it's not fair on you guys or me if I'm unhappy and I'm sort of taking the vibe down. And he easily could have just phoned it in and just, you know, picked up his paycheck and stayed in the band and done the bare minimum and been sort of unhappy, but he wanted to go off and do something else. So he's teaching now and he's happier than ever, I think. And I met him a month ago. We had a good catch up, and we're probably closer now, because, as I say, he was unhappy in the band, and I suppose it's like a relationship. If one person is unhappy, it can drag down the mood of both people, you know. Mm-hmm. So it was very good of him, very big of him, to sort of step away and give us his blessing for us to continue. And instead of taking on the sort of just the whole thing ourselves as a three-piece, we actually opened up the band, as I said earlier on, and our live band has gotten bigger now. We have a session guitar player, piano player, backing vocalist, and we have brass sometimes, and saxophones, trumpets, and we're writing with a lot more people. We're working with different producers, as I said earlier as well. So we sort of opened up the band to the wider Coronas family, as opposed to getting smaller and taking it all on, the three of us. And it's sort of given us a new lease of life, to be honest. It's like, it feels like we're having a whole new chapter to the band. You know, the last couple of years has been really good for us, as I say, and the gigs are going great. We just finished a UK tour, and the numbers have been brilliant, and things are going as well as ever for us in Ireland, you know. And you know, 7 albums in, that's not really that common, you know. Oftentimes bands will have a 4-album lifespan. That tends to be what record labels will sign bands for, and we know that we're one of the few, I suppose, or one of the of the lucky ones that get to do it for a long time. And so we're blessed that we're still doing it, and we're still enjoying it, you know.
Do you have favorite places you like to go and play?
Yeah, well, I love going to the States. I mean, we can't wait to get back there. I mean, I spent a summer in Chicago as a student. We spent a summer in San Diego as well before that as a student, you know, just as the band was starting off. So I love it. I mean, we played in New York just before the pandemic hit as well. We had a week there where we played 3 nights in the Mercury Lounge, which was really, really fun. And we're heading back there again to Irving Plaza. So I love the way each of the states can differ from each other. Oftentimes you feel like you're in a totally different country, like never mind a different state, and you've only driven, you know, we'll go sleep on our sleeper bus and we'll wake up in Boston or something. And you're just like, oh, cool. It feels like Boston. And then you wake up the next day and you're in Washington and it feels different again. And, you know, so I love touring the States for sure. But everywhere we go, Europe is beautiful as well. Some of the architecture in Europe, and then we're going as far as Australia on this tour as well, and it'll be the height of summer in Australia as well. So we'll get some good weather over there, and there's a lot of Irish over there who'll bring out their Irish flags and support us over there. So we're happy to tour wherever. So sorry, I didn't answer your question at all. Everywhere, I love everywhere.
Everywhere, you love everywhere. Well, that's great. And where can people go to find out where you're going to be performing if they want to follow the Coronas?
Absolutely. Well, all the info on all our music and everything is all on our websites, thecoronas.net. That's all it is. And we're on all the social media channels. You can check us out. We're on Spotify, we're on Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. We even started a TikTok account, which is not easy for us because, as I said, we started the band when there was no such thing as TikTok. So we're even trying that sort of stuff too. So, but thecoronas.net is the best place to go to find out about our American tour, which is going to start on the 3rd of November.
Anybody in America ever say, you look like Frank Zappa? You ever heard that?
I have, since the new mustache. This is the new trip. And I got long hair as well. Like I have it up here as well. But yeah, I've had a few. Someone last night said, I can't remember, Ron Jeremy, they said I looked like, with the mustache. And I was like, hold on. I think I prefer Frank Zappa, yeah.
But you're 100 pounds thinner than Ron Jeremy.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Well, thank you for being on the show, Danny O'Reilly from the Coronas. What a pleasure just to have you on. And the new album is Time Stop. Please come back and join us again. If your tour brings you through the DC area, we'd love to have you in the studio.
Absolutely. Would love to do that. So thank you guys. Thank you for having me. We appreciate the support and see you very soon. Cheers.
All right. Danny O'Reilly, and it's the Coronas. Time Stopped is the album. My name is Larry London. You're watching Border Crossings on VOA TV.